Hey, everybody. Yo, what's up? Welcome to Momentum number 281. Thank you for being here tonight. I'm excited to have this live for you guys, picking back up on like some of these seller, I guess, lessons. And I think I'll probably just continue on with the series because it's something that I think I'm excited about. And I think it's something that not a lot of people talk about. We have mentioned and we've in the past on this channel, we've talked about so many different things. It's your first time here. My name is Matt Beard. We talk about real estate investing. We talk about outsourcing, virtual assistants, so many different things on this channel. But a big thing is sales, right? Not just being able to generate leads, but being able to convert on those leads, which is probably the most important thing because that's how you get paid. We call this the queen bee role. So I think just some of the lessons that I've learned over time and that we continue to learn, because the cool thing about our like my personal business with Pace and Cody is I get to see what's working right now in this particular market, as well as I get to see from a elevated level with Start Virtual what's working in other businesses. And the cool thing is I'm still get to talk to sellers pretty often. I still get to go see like just to work on my acts, like go see what's happening and what the things that the lessons that I've learned and I guess the lines and the closing things that I whenever I talk to sellers, like what am I doing to actually get these contracts? And I think you guys can get a unique perspective from that. So forgive me if I look a little tired. So the reality is I am. It's bad. It's bad when your virtual assistant's like, Matt, you should probably get some under eye cream. I'm like, okay, maybe. But the purpose of these videos, guys, if you get any value from any of this stuff on this channel, I just want to implore you to please like it. Head over to the YouTube channel, hit subscribe because I'm going to do more stuff like this on the channel. Was excited to have Lewis Weaver on for the first episode of That's Not My Job just yesterday. So we're doing more cool things, and I hope you guys get value from this. So I'm going to write down a little bit what kind of leads into the second lesson. Kyle and I, we went on an appointment today, and this appointment was probably around, I don't know, it was probably 55 minutes away. So all in all, round trip, probably about 2 hours. Um, and Kyle's like, "Are you sure you want to go on this? Because that's a pretty long drive." I'm like, "Yeah, man, absolutely. If someone wants to sell their house and they're motivated to sell their house, let's do it. Right? I'm ready to go. I want to talk to them. If they're motivated to sell their house, perfect. Right?" And funny thing happens. We get in the car, we drive all the way out to this property. It's a double wide mobile home, and it has some land and all this other stuff. Again, the property's not the thing. I care about the prospect. Who is the prospect? Cool. Let me learn more about that person. So while I'm at this property, talking to the prospect, he's showing us around and how great it is and all this stuff. And I'm always like, I cut the crap. I don't really care about the property. And as soon as I possibly can, when I'm talking to a seller, I like to set the tone of, hey, I'm here to buy a property, right? And very early on at this appointment, I realized that him and his wife were in no position to sell the property today, right? They were in no position to sell their property today. So, guys, I want to ask you a question, right? If you're using your physical time, if you're using your limited resource that you can't scale, if that is where you're at in your business right now, do you think it is best spent with people who aren't like ready to sell? Like, do you think your best resource, do you think there's some magic word that you could say to get someone to sell? Well, Mr. Seller, if we come to an agreement, like, is this something you guys are ready to get started today? I hear that crap all the time. I hear like other closers in this industry, and they're bulldogging people on the phone, and they're pushing and they're pushing and they're pushing. But reality, as they push, the prospect gets pushed away even further and even further, right? It doesn't serve you, and it definitely doesn't serve the client. So very early on, I do my best to get that up. We call it the upfront contract. Hey, I am here. I'm serious about potentially buying the property. We may or may not be a good fit, but I am here because I'm here to buy your house, right? Are you guys in the place? Like, are you guys in the position to make a decision if you're ready to sell the house, right? And very early on in this appointment, realized they weren't, right? They were more concerned with getting a valuation on their property, right? They were more concerned like, hey, what can we get for this property? Right? And as far as like, it's always that dance of what it's worth on the retail market or what is worth in their head. A seller's like, well, they have a number in their mind, and they're like, so it's a difference between in their mind, it's a difference between what they want and what I want to pay them, right? And our goal, and it comes to like this sales world, and this is a huge unlock right here, guys, is to go from the us versus them, right? It's we're on two different sides of the coin here of, I want to get as cheap as possible and they want to sell it for as much as possible to, okay, I don't want to be looking at you and feel like we need to throw rocks at each other to figure out like who's going to budge first. Instead, I want to be on the same team, right? Let me take my buyer's hat off because it doesn't seem like we're the right fit, right? As far as the cash is concerned, I know you have a number in mind. And to be honest with you, it's probably more than what we can pay. But, but again, I know it's important you guys get as much as you possibly can. It's a line I love to use. Push that button, I get a good result. I know it's important you guys get as much as you can. So realistically, if we're not the right buyer, if we're to help you potentially find a buyer, maybe we look at other retail options. Like, where does that person really need to be to work together with you guys on this? And they're like, well, I need X amount of money. Okay, perfect. So now I got a price out of the seller, and I know it's way more than what we can spend, right? And they're like, well, who can give us a valuation on the property? Can we get an appraisal or whatever? I'm like, if you guys want to get an appraisal, guess what? Great. I can help you get one of those scheduled so you can make a decision. And look, guys, if they want to go to the retail market, that's okay with me. I can't convince someone to sell me their property at a deep discount if they are just completely convinced that the property is worth one thing. And if they want to get an appraisal, great. If the appraisal comes back and it's worth significantly less in the as is condition, because the reality is this property needs a bunch of work. If the as is appraisal comes back and it's less than what they think it's worth, then okay, great. Now I have an even better, like conversation with this particular person that I need to get the property at the price I need. But it does me no good to fight people on their price. It does me absolutely no good to talk to them blue in the face about a number that I need to pay or throw out numbers that I can pay when they're not ready to sell. Right. So the biggest lesson I want you guys to take away is, from the previous video to leading up into this one, it is so important that we spend less time or the least amount of time possible with people who aren't ready to sell. We're not trying to convince anyone. If you feel like you're trying to convince someone, leave, right? If you feel like you're talking to a seller who's not ready to sell, do the best you can to build your rapport and get out of there, right? Literally in this appointment, Kyler and I were talking to him, and I knew that there was no way we're getting this thing done right now because there's a couple other steps that need to happen before I know I can get either my cash price or my terms or potentially get that as a listing referral. There's a couple more steps that need to happen first. So I was trying my best to get out of the living room, trying to go. And literally this old guy was like in my truck as I was like, yeah, man, okay, yep, yes, sir. I think here's our next do that. We'll check back in and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Right. I get back out to the truck. We crank it up. I open the door, and this old man's like grabbing my handle inside, and he's just like trying to talk to me like this close to my face. He's like, "Yeah, well, you guys are great, and we'd really love to work with you guys on the property. We really want to sell, so please let us know." I'm like, "Yeah, great, no." And I finally get my door closed, and he wants me to roll the window down, so I roll the window down. He's like leaning in my truck. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I'm trying to leave," right? And he's like trying to talk to me, and he's going back and forth to her like, yeah, we definitely would like to work with you guys. And it's funny because it's predictable, right? I talked to you guys about creating that desire and creating urgency. Well, guess what? When you pull out hard, with someone who isn't ready to sell their property and is completely like it is a waste of time today to further that conversation. There's no point of sitting in an appointment for an hour because you think you're building a great rapport. There's no point in sitting in an appointment for an hour and a half or 2 hours with someone who isn't ready to go right now. So get out of there. Right. And what happens is when you pull away to that level, right? When you pull away, all of a sudden you create that desire and urgency even more. Like literally, this guy's texting the team, like, "Hey, just let us know what we need to do. We definitely want to work with you guys." Right. And it goes from, we're getting a lot of people interested. We might do, there's other people we could potentially sell the property to, oh my gosh, how can I just work with your team? Right. So that is a huge takeaway, guys. A huge takeaway. If you are still in the sales of your business, or you have a key member in the sales of your business and they get bottlenecked, make sure they're not spending time with people who aren't closable, people who aren't ready to be closed today, people who aren't ready to make a decision today. And if they are, make sure they know to pull out and get out of there and put it on a follow up. Because guess what? I'm not following up with this guy. Guess what? The people that I go on appointments to, if Matt is calling them, if Matt is going on the appointment, you best believe I'm only trying to spend my time with people that are ready to freaking go. I'm only spending my time with people who are ready to make a decision. And if they are not at that level, I'm pulling out. I'm getting out of there. I'll build my rapport. Hey, this is what I think the next steps would be in a very kind way, right? But if I can't get my upfront contract and I know this person's ready to sell, I'm leaving. But then, like, of course, I'm not gonna be like, peace later, right? I'll build my little bit of rapport and say, look, I don't think this is something you guys are ready to do right now, and that's totally okay, right? But here's our action plan. Here's one, two, three, four, right? And that's exactly what we did. This guy was like following us out, like like trying to give us coffee and other drinks and all these things. And like, look, man, I totally appreciate that. And it's funny because it's like that's not the first time. That happens all the time. But we got to be able to respect ourselves as professionals, pull out when someone isn't ready to go. And the funny thing was, as Kyle and I were driving back to in town, so about another 40, 55 minutes to an hour drive back in town, Kyle's like, man, I'm just so sorry. I feel like I wasted your time. I'm like, Kyle, do you not realize what just happened here? That this was great, right? Sometimes the end result isn't a contract, but I promise you, like getting in front of people and having these meaningful conversations, maybe this guy didn't sign today, but we have exactly what we need, right? When the time comes that I'm going to shoot my shot, we talk about, you know, knowing when to shoot your shot. I didn't talk about my price. I didn't talk about what I can pay because I knew there was things that needed to happen first because this person wasn't ready. I pulled out. But Kyle, man, we now have had this initial conversation. He knows who we are. So now if we line this thing up and we do exactly what we told him, step one, two, three, four, we're going to get the property either a price that works for us or terms that work for us, or worst case scenario, we get ourselves, a $2,000 retail referral. And that is what I want you to see. And Kyle's like, oh, that makes a lot more sense. I was like, I thought you were going to be mad at me for having you go into this appointment. Like, no, this is the name of the game. This is how it goes. Right. So, but I still, I'm like, Kyle, with these folks, you have to meet them. You have to talk to them. That's cool. But just spend less time on people who aren't ready to sign with you today. Get out of there. Don't hang out 2 hours at an appointment, hour and a half at an appointment. Make it short, make it sweet, build your rapport, set the action plan, and leave because there's other people that need your help today, right? Value your time as a professional, and I promise you it pays off tenfold. So, guys, hopefully, hopefully you got some value from this video today. If you did, we're going to continue to come out with little sales tactics and strategies here so you guys can, better, I guess, maybe better strategize in your lead process to your sales process, and do it in a way that is authentic to you. Don't feel like you got to be anyone you're not. I think that was one of the biggest challenges I felt when I got in the real estate world in general. I saw just so many different personalities. I saw so many different, ways that people close. And I realized like, dude, I'm not a shark. I'm not someone who's going to force someone to do something that they don't want to do, or, just be like super abrasive or whatever. That's not my personality. One of my biggest values I ever got was my mentor very early on in real estate said, Matt, the biggest value you can bring to anything is yourself. Just be yourself. So I want to implore you guys, even when you learn these sales strategies, you learn these sales tactics, when we talk about like an overview of an appointment and stuff, I hope that you see yourself in these places, right? Even if you're not the salesperson, whoever the salesperson in your team, allow them to be themselves. Because when they can do that, you become really, really, really good at communicating with people and solving problems. And when you solve problems, you get the deal. You will always be enough. So, guys, hopefully you like this stuff here on this channel. Hopefully you got value from this video. If you did, please like it. Head over to the YouTube channel again and subscribe. It helps more than you know. And yeah, we'll see you guys again on the next video. Later.